Hi students, welcome back to another session on electrostatics. In the previous classes, we have considered cases where charges are taken to be discrete, like point charges, I mean to say. So discrete quantities, in discrete quantities we considered the charges. That is, we took 2-point charges separated by a distance in air, etc. But whereas in practical situations, we find that charge is distributed, like in the case of a wire, for example. If you take a thin cylindrical wire, the charge is distributed throughout the wire. So it is like a line of charges. So it is not 1-point charge, it is a line of charges. It is a continuous distribution of charges there. The same way, if you take a planar surface, the surface of a conductor, on that also you find that the charge is distributed continuously. It is not discrete. We don't have charges separated by distances there, point charges separated by distances, etc. We don't have like that. It is a continuous distribution of charges. Similarly, again, inside a volume of a conductor maybe, so you find that the charge is distributed throughout the volume. So that is where we come across another important topic here, that is continuous distribution of charges. Continuous distribution of electric charges. There are 3 different cases in continuous distribution of charges. That is, maybe there is a distribution along the length. So that is, in a wire, thin wire, along the length of it, there is a distribution of charges. That is a continuous distribution of charges along the wire. There we come across an important quantity called linear density. Linear density of charge. This is along the length, when the charge is as a length, so through a wire or something like that. So in second case is on the surface of a body, that is on the surface of a conductor maybe. So the charge is distributed throughout the surface, so with some density. So there we come across something called surface charge density. Surface density of charge or surface charge density. Then third, throughout the volume, that is, if you consider the distribution of charge inside the volume of a body, that is maybe a conductor. Of course, a conductor will have charges residing on the surface of a body, you say, but generally, if you consider any object which is having distribution of charge inside it, now in that case, you find that there is called something called just charge density or volume density of charge or volume charge density. Volume density of charge or volume charge density. Linear charge density is denoted by lambda. Surface charge density is denoted by sigma, and volume charge density is denoted by rho. Let us just take one by one and try to understand the density. So then first is linear charge density, lambda. So here let me just take a thin straight wire maybe, so a cylindrical wire. So in that, charge is distributed continuously, say maybe positive charges, negative charges, whatever. Strictly speaking, you know that charges basically are like electrons and protons, etc. So let me just consider some charge, okay. So there is some charge distributed throughout the length of the conductor. In this case, the charge density, linear charge density, is denoted by lambda, which is given by charge per unit length. So this is, if I take length of the conductor as L, then Q as the charge, then charge density is Q by L, whereas there may not be uniform distribution everywhere. So we will take a very small length of the conductor called current element here. So as a small length element of the wire, so a small length delta L I will take, and charge in that volume, in that length, charge in that length is say delta Q, then lambda is equal to delta L. The charge density in this small length is delta Q divided by delta L. What should be the unit of this? Charge is coulombs, length is meter. So coulomb per meter. This is linear charge density. Now similarly, surface charge density. Similarly, surface charge density. If there's a distribution of charge on the surface of a body, so in a small area, say delta S, you want to check what is the charge distribution. Say area is delta S, delta Q is the charge on that. Then surface charge density is given by sigma is equal to the amount of charge per unit area, that is delta Q by delta S, which will be coulomb per meter square, which is the area. So on a body, the surface density of charge, that is amount of charge distributed per unit surface of the area, so that is per unit surface area, that is delta Q by delta S, that is coulomb per meter square. Then similarly, the third one, volume density of charge. Volume density of charge is rho. So inside the volume, you just consider any kind of surface, any kind of volume, like spherical volume or cylindrical volume or any irregular shaped body also. So within per unit volume of that body, so what is the charge enclosed? That is called as volume density of charge. And volume density of charge is given by rho is equal to the amount of charge present in the unit volume of the conductor, that is divided by delta V as the volume if I take. So delta Q by delta V, which will be equal to coulomb per meter cube. So these are the three different ways of representing the charge density. So linear density, surface density and volume density of charges. So that's about continuous distribution of charge. So you just have to remember the equations. So there is no derivation for this. So charge per unit length is charge in linear charge density. Charge per unit area is surface charge density. Charge per unit volume is volume charge density. That's all. So that's about continuous charge distribution. Generally, flux is given by phi is equal to E delta S cos theta, that is electric field area and cos of the angle between electric field and the area vector. So that you saw in the previous classes. So this is a general expression. Now let us understand another important law here, which gives you an easier approach to find the flux at any point due to a distribution of charges. That is Gauss law. So Gauss law tells about the flux through a closed surface. If you have a closed surface, generally practically speaking, you will get closed surfaces only. Like any object you take, this is a closed surface. This duster is a closed surface now. So there may be charges inside. So due to the charge, how much is the total flux through this surface to find out? So we have Gauss law here. So which says that you have any closed surface, if the charge enclosed inside, if the total charge enclosed inside is Q, which may be Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, maybe negative charge also is present, Q5, etc. If you have number of charges present, the sum of all those charges is Q. If I take the total charge is Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus etc. Then according to Gauss law, the total normal outward electric flux through this closed surface, that is how much is the flux going out of this surface, normal to the surface. So that total flux is given by phi is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed. total charge enclosed by the surface. So which is nothing but, if I consider the total charge to be Q, then it is 1 by epsilon naught times Q, which is Q by epsilon naught. So this is the flux according to Gauss law. So Gauss law states that, the statement, so Gauss law states that the total normal outward electric flux through any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed. So in this case it will be like total charge enclosed is Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 plus Q4 and minus Q5, maybe like that. So all the charges put together sum is total charge Q. So Q by epsilon naught is the flux. So this is Gauss law. Now this is a very simple statement, whereas we are going to understand how to apply this to get the flux in practical situations, like some uniform distribution of charges, in the case of like a linear distribution of charge or surface distribution or volume distribution. All the three cases we are going to understand with some examples here. So that is Gauss law. So now let us understand the applications of Gauss law in different cases. Applications of Gauss law. So first thing is, we will try to find out the electric field due to a distribution of charge in the case of linear distribution. So that is, if I take infinitely long straight conductor, that is say there is a cylindrical conductor here, okay, a charge conductor which is infinitely long, an infinitely long, very long conductor having uniform charge density. Say there is charge distributed uniformly throughout the conductor. Let the charge distribution here has a density, linear charge density. What did I say? Lambda. Lambda is the charge density. So if I take lambda as the charge density here, then I want to find out now, due to this conductor, what is the electric field at some point P. That is, say the point P is here. Okay. So at this point, what is the electric field due to this infinitely long conductor? I want to find that. Of course, practically speaking, in the previous classes what you have learned, electric field at a point due to a point charge is given by, you have an expression for that. So that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square, etc. So now there are so many charges here. Due to each charge, you have to find out the electric field at point P and add up all those electric fields vectorially to get the net field here, which is practically almost difficult. Of course, not impossible. It is difficult. Whereas using Gauss law, we can do the same thing within few steps here. So let us just check how to do that. The first thing, let us understand what is the direction of the field here. Direction of the field is very simple. Now let me just show that here. See, this is the conductor, and this is a linear conductor, linear charge distribution, and point P is here. I want to find the direction of the electric field here at this point. I will take, say, the distance is r and this point as O here. The perpendicular distance of the given point from the conductor is r, let us say. Now at this point I want to find the electric field. Let me take some point P1 somewhere here. Okay, a charge here at point P1. Same distance from O on the other side, let me take another point P2 where some charge is present now. So due to these 2 point charges, what is the field at P? So it is in this direction. I have assumed that the charge is positive on the conductor. Now due to P1 at P, the field is in this direction. I will call it as some E or E1 or whatever you call. Now due to P2 at P, the field is same because equidistant points I have taken. So from P to P2 or P to P1, the distance is same, and the electric fields are E1 and E2 or E1 and E1 itself, both are same. E1 and E2 are in magnitude same here. Then what is the net field at P? Of course, the vector sum. This is the net field here. So what do you understand from this? The net field is exactly perpendicular to the conductor, to this linear distribution. Now, I took only 2 points. If you want, you take some more points. Say P3 somewhere here. Exactly same distance from O, P4 here. P3 and P4 also give rise to some electric field in the same direction here. So same way, every 2 pair of points on either side of this O will cause an electric field which is perpendicular to the conductor in this direction itself. So all those electric fields add up to give field in the same direction. So what did you understand from this? The electric field is exactly perpendicular to the conductor at every point, everywhere, all around it. That is, if I take this point P, this there in here, somewhere here also, in the same way perpendicular to the conductor, electric field will be outward like this. So around the conductor, the electric field at every point is radially outward, we can say. Now let me consider this as distance R, this is O, I took, right? Now how to find the electric field at P? Now I already told you, due to these 2 points it is E, due to another 2 points maybe E dash, due to another 2 points E double dash, whatever, something like that. Add up all the fields to get the total field there. But that is a lengthy process, so let us apply Gauss law here. To apply Gauss law, what is required? A closed surface is required. Now let me consider a closed surface which passes through this point P and it resembles the conductor. Just for our convenience, I will take a cylinder. So an imaginary cylinder I will take here, an imaginary cylinder on the surface of which the point P lies. The point P lies on the surface of this cylinder, and you know that the resultant electric field at point P due to this whole conductor is E. So I will take a cylinder which is coaxial with the given conductor. I have taken a coaxial cylinder here. This is an imaginary surface. It is called as Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface. It is an imaginary closed surface. Now, at point P, electric field is outward, we said, radially outward. Same at every point on the cylinder, curved surface of the cylinder, the field is always normally out, radially out. Whereas, what about this circular face of the cylinder or this circular face of the cylinder? There is no perpendicular field there. The field lines are all parallel to these circular faces. Therefore, the net field perpendicular to these circular faces is 0. Correct? So now, what is the, for instance, let us say this length of the cylinder as L. Now, according to the basic concept, what is the flux through this closed surface? Total flux through this surface. So general definition is flux is equal to E delta S cos theta, E into area into cos theta, total area into cos theta. So what is the flux here? By definition, flux through the Gaussian surface. Flux through the Gaussian surface is phi is equal to, electric field is E, at every point on the surface it is E only, we have said, E, and area of the cylinder. What is the surface area of the cylinder? The curved face of the cylinder. These two circular faces, no electric field. Already you have said that. Now on this curved face, there is field, therefore on the curved face the area is, circumference is 2 pi r, length is L, so 2 pi r into L. And the field is normal to the surface. Therefore, cos theta is 1. So therefore, no cos theta here. So by general definition, phi is equal to 2 pi r into L. Now what about Gauss law? According to Gauss law, same flux phi is equal to what now? Flux is equal to the 1 by epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed. Total charge enclosed by the cylindrical surface, which is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times, what is the total charge enclosed here? You know, what is lambda? Lambda is equal to charge density, which is, if the total charge is delta q, length is delta L, lambda is equal to delta q by delta L. If the charge is q, it is lambda is equal to q by L. You know that. Therefore, total charge is q is equal to lambda L. I'll put that lambda L here. This is equation 2. Equate the two here, that is equation 1 and equation 2. So let me remove this. So equating 1 and 2, comparing the equations 1 and 2, what do you get? E into 2 pi RL is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times lambda L. So L cancels here. So therefore E is equal to, this L cancels, E is equal to 2 pi R comes down here, then here lambda remains. So lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught R. So this is the expression for electric field at some point due to an infinitely long conductor. You may be thinking now, we took the length as L, but in the final expression there is no L here. Lambda is there, lambda is the charge density. If the conductor is assumed to have uniform density lambda throughout, then an infinitely long conductor will produce an electric field E at any point near it, which is given by the expression lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught R. The point P is at a distance R from the perpendicular distance R from the conductor. So this is one of the important applications of Gauss law. So what did we find here? Electric field at a point due to an infinitely long charged straight conductor. So if you have an infinitely long charged straight conductor, then the electric field is given by this expression. And what is the SI unit of electric field? That's easy. So force per unit charge, E is equal to F by Q, you know that. So Newton per Coulomb. So same thing holds good everywhere. So electric field is given by Newton per Coulomb. So that this is one of the important applications of Gauss law. So I'll remove this. Now let us take second application of Gauss law, another important application, that is to find the application 2, to find the electric field at a point due to a uniformly charged infinite plane, or is a plane surface like this board, for example, an infinitely long, infinitely big plane surface which is uniformly charged to a density, uniform charge, surface charge density, say sigma. Sigma is the charge density, you know that. So sigma is equal to, let me write it here, what is sigma? If it is a plane surface, uniform charge density sigma is equal to delta Q by delta S area, right? We have said like that. Now let us just consider an infinitely big plane surface charged uniformly with a charge density sigma. Then what will be the electric field at any point near that plane surface? So I will take here a big plane surface. This is infinitely big. Let us assume that it is infinitely extended in all the directions. So it is perpendicular to the board. If I take, it is infinitely long this way, that way, above, below, everywhere. So it's an infinitely big plane. Now I will take here the charge distribution to be, say, sigma. I mean there is charge distributed uniformly on this surface. Okay. Now it is infinitely big. Remember that. Now let me take some point over here, and at some distance, say R, I'll take perpendicular distance R, I'll take a point P where I want to find the electric field. Now do this whole plane sheet which is charged uniformly. Now what will be the electric field? I mean to say, this is a plane sheet which is charged uniformly, full charge is there everywhere, density is sigma. At some point, at a distance from the plane, perpendicular distance of R, there is point P here. What is the electric field at this point we want to understand? In the previous case, as I just discussed, same thing holds good here, that is from O, every two adjacent particles which are equidistant from O on the surface will cause some electric field here which will give rise to a resultant which is exactly perpendicular to the plane E. Okay. So if I, on the other hand, if I take, say for example, same distance on the other side, if I take another point which is at same distance from O on the other side of the plane, there also there is electric field. exactly in the opposite direction. Same strength of electric field will be there on the other direction, in the other direction also. These two are opposite to each other, of course. Okay. Outward from the plane, perpendicular to it, there is electric field. If the distance is same, then electric field also will be same. Assuming the distance to be same here, we can say like that. Now, how to find the electric field here? First thing, remember, electric field is perpendicular to the plane of the charged body here. Perpendicular to the plane. Infinitely big plane. Charged to uniform charge density sigma. Now, what is sigma? That also you know. Total charge divided by area. Charge per area. That is delta Q by delta S. By definition. Already I have said you that. Now, general expression for flux, of course, you know that also. Phi is equal to E delta S cos theta. And according to Gauss law, it is 1 by epsilon naught into total charge enclosed. These are the general expressions there. Now let us consider the situation. Now to apply Gauss law, this is an application of Gauss law. To apply Gauss law, we need a Gaussian surface. So Gaussian surface should be in such a way that it should be symmetric with the given plane, and also it should be having this point P falling on its surface. So I will take here ideally a parallelepiped can also be used, or a cylinder can be used here. So I will take a cylinder. Say, for example, a cylinder something like this. On the circular face of it, the point P falls. If I take a cylinder which is passing through this plate, passing through this plane, I will take same way on the other side also. It is extended here. So something this way. Here something like this. It is passing through the plane, like perpendicular to the plane, it is passing through it. So this is a cylinder which can be called as a Gaussian surface. It is an imaginary surface, a closed surface. Now there is an important point to remember, that is, first, electric field E is perpendicular to the plane I said, perpendicular to this circular face then, correct? What about to the curved face? For the curved face, the electric field is parallel, but flux is what? It is the count of lines passing perpendicular to the surface, not parallel to the surface. Therefore, the curved surface does not contribute to the flux. So only this circular face contributes, and of course this circular face also. So if I take the area of this circular face as A, then total area which is contributing is A plus A, that is 2A. The flux through 2A I have to find out, that's all. That's the total flux through this closed surface called Gaussian surface, that is cylinder here I can say. Fine. So now what is the total flux? So by general definition, so total flux through Gaussian surface is what? Is phi is equal to E delta S cos theta. So what is E delta S cos theta here? E is the electric field, of course. E delta S is A here. A cos theta is 1 plus another face E and A. So which is equal to 2EA. This is, I will take this face as anyways, no name to be on, because both are same surfaces here. So this is one circular face, this is another circular face. So total area is 2EA here, 2A here. So E into 2A, that is 2EA. This is expression for the flux through the Gaussian surface. Through the curved surface it is 0, of course. So here I will write a note: no flux through curved face. No flux through curved face. So flux through this is 0. Okay, curved face. Okay, whereas these two circular faces, non-zero flux will be there, which is EA and EA. Now, same way, what is the Gauss law here? Gauss law says the flux is equal to the total normal outward electric flux through any closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times charge enclosed. Charge enclosed. So, what will that be? Which is 1 by epsilon naught times. What is the total charge enclosed by this closed surface now here? Already I have discussed. Charges, where is the charge? Is there any charge here in the cylinder? No, only on this plane there is charge, correct? Only on this circular face. How much is the area of that? A. A is the area of this circular face. And what is the density of the charge? Sigma. Then what will be the charge density? Charge divided by area. Area is what? A is the area. So area and charge. So if I say the charge on the surface is Q, then what will be the charge? Q is equal to sigma A. So I will use that here. So total charge enclosed is sigma into A. So this is the flux. So total outward electric flux through this imaginary Gaussian surface, that is cylindrical surface. Now equate 1 and 2, get the expression for electric field, that's it. So I'll just put that here. Okay, let me just write it here. So what is the total field then? I mean compare 1 and 2. Comparing equations 1 and 2, we get 2EA is equal to 1 by epsilon naught sigma A. So A gets cancelled. So E is equal to 2 comes down here. Sigma is there as it is, 2 into epsilon naught. Equation 3. So this is the expression. Of course, Newton per Coulomb is the unit. So sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So that's the expression for electric field due to an infinitely long, infinitely big charged plane surface, charged to uniform density. So you saw here in two examples you saw that one, if you have an infinitely long straight wire which is charged uniformly, or an infinitely big plane charged uniformly, so we can use Gauss law to find the electric field at any point due to it. So electric field is given by sigma by 2 epsilon naught. You can understand here that though the plane is infinitely big and though we took a small surface area A, but those things are not there in this equation. So irrespective of the area covered, at any point P near the surface, the electric field is sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So this is the expression. That's it. So that is about applications of Gauss law. So similarly, in the coming session, we are going to see another important application of Gauss law, the third application, which is the electric field at any point due to volume distribution of charge. Thank you all very much.